welcome to yet another edition of DJ to DJ. I am your man, DJ Fernando G. And as always, we have another amazing talent with us. Let's welcome the talented and beautiful Bubblewrappe. What up, sister? How are you, man?
I'm all right. Just, quarantining.
Yeah, just like everybody else.
Just grounded like everybody else in the world, waiting for the other shoe to drop, so.
I know. There's so much going on in this world right now, but as we were talking just a moment ago, for me, it's been a blessing, but yet a nightmare at the same time, and I'm hoping that a lot of people are kind of finding that out, that it could be a blessing, in disguise, because, for me, it was the creativity part, something that I had kind of lost focus on, was my creativity and stuff. And so now I'm getting really excited about doing new stuff. However, the fact that we're enclosed, it makes it a little bit difficult, because you got kids and wife and other stuff that got to be done, but we'll make it work, right?
I'm glad you said that, though, because that's kind of how I felt mostly in the pandemic. I had been saying for like a year that I wish that I could just stay at home and just work on music. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic happened and I was getting the good unemployment for a minute. And,
right.
I could pay my bills and just sit at home and be like creating. I think I've made probably like 40 tracks in the last, since March. I've just been churning out music and, there's been a lot of good things, I'm starting to get a little squirrely because I'm a little stressed because, I'm looking for work, alternative work. Because honestly, I don't think nightlife is going to get back until 2022.
Yeah.
People aren't listening, Like I just did a TikTok about it last week and it blew up. It has like 125,000 views. And It's like, I was like, Riverside got locked down again. And I'm like, we're never going to get out of this unless people just start acting like it's a pandemic, whether you think it's real or not. Like almost 300,000 people have died or 250,000 people have died. And it's like, I don't know. It's just been such a weird thing. And it's like, we're the last thing, right? The music is the last thing on the totem pole when it comes to essential. We're the least essential thing as far as any government agency is concerned. And, we don't have the support like the UK does. Like I saw recently a bunch of DJs met with Prince William and they talked about, they have like a group that's going to try to help save clubs. But we've got like clubs shutting down here in LA left and right, like people are bleeding. Los Angeles is bleeding musicians and creatives and everybody's moving out of LA. And I'm just like,
yeah. Well, I just found out the sad news of PSSL closing down. PSSL is one of the largest companies here in Southern California for rentals and audio equipment purchase and stuff. They're closing down. And then yesterday, Guitar Center is apparently filing a Chapter 11. So we're like, oh, dang, and, in a sense, it's tough because, for example, for my company, Elite DJs and Event Planning, obviously has been completely shut down since all this happened. So no weddings, no corporate events or anything. My biggest event of the year is every June at the Hollywood Bowl. And, we do a pre-festival. We handle all their sponsor activations. There's, we bring in staging, lighting, all kinds of stuff. And then we help with the backstage production of the main show. Shut down completely, and it's like, what the heck? And so I had to kind of reinvent myself, and this is the idea of DJ to DJ came about, and I started doing some DJ drops, and now I'm doing hats and T-shirts and this and that and stuff that had kind of been in the back of my mind, but it's like, gotta make ends meet, gotta make it happen. So
I got a heat press.
I saw that.
I started a merch line, so I'm just like
that Rave Mom. I
yeah,
love it.
Rave Mom, which is like, it's so funny. The story behind that is actually kind of hysterical. So I go to ADE every year. Mm-hmm. And, I'm older. We're older, right? And I was at this SoundCloud event with like a bunch of like people that I really respect, like Alexander Technique, who's one of my really, really good friends, Cameo, and a bunch of other people. There was just like a bunch of us DJs there. And we were there and I was checking out the Denon because they have the Denon Prime controller, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was there and I was checking it out, and some guy took a picture of me, and there's this techno meme group that's like really, it's super toxic. It's like a lot of people just like cracking on each other, right? And just talking shit about the industry. And or people in the industry. They make a lot of fun of house producers, right? But it's like, it's the techno meme page or whatever. And some guy posted a picture of me in this group with like 50,000 people, and it was like, your mom's first gig at the pub.
Oh.
And I remember looking at the guy when he took a picture of me, and I was just like, huh, you know, and I just thought he was taking a picture of like the scene, because everyone's always right. You know, like, and I went off on him, and I was like, this, it happened right as I was landing here.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, this motherfucker. And it was some dude in Virginia that had like 1,000 friends on Facebook and no releases or anything. I like looked him up, and I was like, bro, you're older. I was like, you're older than me, because he was like 45 or something. And I was just like, bro, get the fuck out of here. And so out of that came this idea. I mean, Rave Mom is like, especially with the kids, because I work with a lot of kids right now. Rave Mom is like this hierarchy of, like, when we went to raves, we had our rave group, right? But the Rave Mom is this term now, this Urban Dictionary term, or like hierarchy in the rave family. But she's the one that always has the gum and the water and the lipstick and the chapstick and the, you know, like anything you need, the hand sanitizer, like that's Rave Mom, right? And so there's like a huge thing with that. And so it's funny because I did this song with Jeff the Jacker, called Rave Mom. I brought the idea to him, and I was like, I have this vocal I want to do. Like, I think you could kill this, you know? And so he made the track, and I gave him the vocals, and it was, you know, I don't know if you've heard it yet, but it's like, make sure you always have a meeting point, you know, like, it's like, you know, don't take candy from strangers.
That's classic. Like, I love it. So now I haven't heard it, so I got to check it out.
Yeah, we put it out on Vile, because I run 2 labels now. I have my label, and then I have Vile Music, which I do A&R for. Nice. And we put it out at the beginning of this year, and or actually right at the beginning of quarantine. And so now, like, the Rave Mom thing, it's like a joke. It's like,
right,
bro, do you know who I am? I'm fucking Rave Mom.
Rave Mom. Classic. Well, let's take a step back. Let's go back a bit. And let's talk about your origins in music and how you got into DJing. And now I met you, about 3 years ago at the DJ Roundtable.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because the day that I met you, you were talking and you were saying, "Hey man, I'm trying to figure out how to beat mix," and this wasn't too long ago. And you were saying, I just need some help. You say, I got the concept, but I would like to get some help on it. If anybody can give me some pointers and stuff. And we chatted for a little bit back then, and then we kind of lost contact.
I think that was longer than 3 years ago.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, because I think that was like 2014, 2015, so 5 years ago.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, because I had just left the radio station.
Yeah.
And I had joined them, and it was like my first couple of weeks, and that's when I met you, when we ran into each other.
Yeah.
And but then I start seeing you busting out with these mixes. I see you spinning at the stock exchange. I see you at all these high-end clubs. I'm all like, check her out, miss. I don't know how to beat mix. What you talking about? And I was like, what the hell's going on here? I mean, and you just blew up. And then I mean, okay, so let's go back. How did this all come about? When did you decide that you wanted to become a DJ, and how did that all come about?
Well, I wanted to be a DJ since I was a kid. I was in radio from age 14 to age 21. I was on a morning show, and I was voted most likely to be a radio DJ in my high school yearbook. And at the time I was already a DJ. So it was like this big joke. But music was always something I wanted to do. And I had a lot of like, what's what I'm looking for? I had a lot of resistance to that from a lot of people in my life that I cared about at the time. Like my parents were not cool with me becoming a musician. Like my my stepdad who is just, it's a very traumatic story, but he's just not a nice person. But he basically told me, he's like, you'll never make it. Like you'll never make it. It's not even worth trying. You should just go to school and become like a lawyer or an accountant. But I also understand that like, that's sort of like their thing. I'm from the Midwest. So
every parent wants their kid to be a doctor, a lawyer, a banker or something.
We don't have nightlife in Omaha, Nebraska, like they do in LA.
Right.
And music was always my thing in school that I was gifted at. And I ended up, getting out of radio and being a dancer for a really long time. I was a hot mess for a long time. I'm sober, as you know.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations.
I did, I sold drugs at raves in the late 90s, early 2000s. I got caught up trapping and doing all sorts of stupid stuff. But then I moved to Atlanta in 2002 to 2004 to go to school for production. I went for like 2 years. I was on cocaine the whole time. And I made the dean's list and barely retained anything that I learned there.
Wow.
And at the time, like, it was like MPCs, everything was switching to digital at the time. And it was like MPCs and, Logic was sort of just getting its like
in its infancy. Yeah.
Ableton wasn't even a thing at the time, I don't think, or even like, I had like a CD with Cubase on it somebody gave me. And then I overdosed, lost everything, went home to Nebraska for a year and dated a DJ. And all of his friends, we went to Winter Music Conference,
Mm-hmm.
and I had sort of vacillated between hip hop and house music. Like I listen on my downtime to more R&B hip hop, like sort of like, The Weeknd and Drake kind of stuff.
Right.
Now that's what the inception is, but I've always been a big hip hop fan. And for the longest time, I thought that's what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to make beats, doing hip hop. And I came to LA. I got a job, an internship in a post-production house when I first moved out here. That's what got me out here, through a friend of mine. And bless his heart, but he was a little creepy, and I was still doing a lot of drugs, and so that kind of went away. And then I did makeup for like 4 or 5 years and still danced, I was still being a little ratchet everywhere. And then and I would go to Vanguard and I remember for my 30th or 31st birthday or one of my birthdays, Pasquale gave me tickets to see Cascade at Vanguard,
Nice.
Like stuff like that, but I did a lot of damage. Like, it's crazy. I played Academy this last year, which used to be Vanguard.
Right.
And I was telling everybody, I was like, the last time I was here, I was hammered and I lost a phone. I lost like 6 phones in Vanguard in like a 3-year period. Because I'd go to Deep every Sunday and it would just be like a hot mess. And but for me, it was always like, all I wanted to do was music. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I ever wanted to do. But even like the friend who got me the job in post-production was like, it's too late. You're too old now. Like, it'll never happen. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need to do this. Like, very condescending. I'm actually not friends with that person anymore. And then when I got sober, I started, before I got sober, I'd started reading a lot of like mind books. Because really, for a lot of us who come from like tragic backgrounds and stuff like that, like, and from addiction, like, you have to retrain your brain. You have to reprogram yourself, right? Daily. And so that's what I did. When I got sober, I was like, well, the only thing I've ever wanted to do was music. And by the grace of the universe, my company that I was dancing for gave me a chance to be a DJ in that industry.
Sweet.
And I was like, I'm going to try the DJing thing. And I was 34 when I got sober. And I said, if by the time I'm 40, nothing's happening, then I'll go to school to be a psychologist, because I really like how the mind works. And when I was 40, I started my record label. So I guess it's going good. I don't know. Like, I haven't really made a lot of money, but I sort of went after music the way I did using. I do everything addictively, like everything alcoholically. If I like to do it, I'm going to overdo it.
Right.
And so I've been single for the whole 10 years that I've been working on this dream. And I've been, it's just me. It's me. And okay, what are you doing today that's going to get you closer to what you want to do? And I think when I met you, my thing was that I was beat matching, but I sort of thought I wanted to do open format for a while. That's I think what the conversation was with you,
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
I suck at open format. That's a whole different energy. You know what I mean?
yeah. It
And
is
it's like the way you guys do that, it's like quick. Like
in and
uh,
out, in and out. Yep.
yeah, it's in and out, and bless your hearts, but it's just too much anxiety for me.
You're like,
For me,
ah, it's
I
too
like
much.
to write two songs on top of each other,
Right.
kind of, you know,
Yeah.
like breathe. And
And that's
so
funny because I gotta be honest with you. I mean, my all-time favorite band is Depeche Mode, and so anything electronic, trance, EDM, house, all that stuff I love, and I love those. I love writing the mixes. I love just letting them just boom, boom, boom. Just I mean, it's funny because last week I did this one mix, and I kid you not, it was like a minute and a half mix. I even announced it. I was on Instagram, and I was like, "This is probably one of the longest mixes I've had." And I was like, literally, like, and it was but the vibe was just like boom, and I was just in the zone, and I love that. And it does kind of drive me nuts, like when I'm doing weddings, especially when I'm doing like teen events. Oh God, I have to play like a minute and a half, bam, 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 bam. It's cool, but at the same time, like you say, it could be kind of give you anxiety, and it's like, but definitely I feel you when you're talking about writing the mixes.
yeah, so it's weird because I almost became like a EDM DJ, because one of my really good friends, Agata Alexander, who also was a huge inspiration in the last like 15 years, she did all the videos for Hardfest, and she co-produced one of, or co-directed or edited one of the first EDC movies. So like,
Nice.
I was always around like backstage at all these big festivals, and it really made me see that like it's a work ethic. Like it isn't that these guys are more talented than anybody else. It's that they work harder than anybody else. You know what I mean? And like I remember watching her like not even barely eat for like a week when I first moved to LA before I even got sober, just working on like a music video. And I was like, that's the stuff right there. And it was like, if I'm going to do this, like, I really need to, like, I got to catch up, right? There's people that have been doing it since they were 20. Like, I got to really work hard. And the difference between, I think, me and somebody that's 20, bless their hearts, is that I'm not drinking. I'm not partying. I go, I do my work, and I leave, which is, like you mentioned, working with all the Insomniac clubs. Like, I got a chance to play in the gallery, and I let them know, like, I want to play main stage. What is it going to take? And they're like, well, you're going to have to sell tables. And I was like, bet. And I just grinded, and I got to the point that, now I have a really great working relationship with the people there. And,
Great.
I consider them family. And, to be able to play at, Exchange and Academy in front of 2,000 people is just,
that's huge.
Like, if somebody had told, I'm going to get a little like choked up. If somebody had told 21-year-old me that I would be doing that, I would have been like, you're shitting me, you're full of shit. Right. Like, so it's crazy. Like, I just basically like got in people's faces, like, okay, what do I have to do this?
Well, you
Like,
hustled. You made it work.
yeah.
You had a dream, and the only way to reach your goal. And it's funny because, like, right now that I started doing this DJ to DJ thing, at first it's just barely now starting to take off. You know what I mean? I've obviously I worked in radio for many years. I've had a lot of amazing talent that I've been around: Richard Vision, AJ Mora, all these guys, Tony B, all the boys that we hung out with back in the day. I mean, literally from junior high on up. And I cannot take credit for anything that these guys have done because they are a talent for themselves. But, we all grew up together. We all taught each other different things, different stuff. Me being a little bit older than Richard and AJ and stuff like that, I had learned to beat mix prior to them. And then they kind of followed my lead. But what they did afterwards was amazing. I mean, I was just like, wow. I got into radio and I moved on. But it was, how could I put it? Kind of surreal. I did get to a point where I hit a wall and I stopped. And that literally happened just recently in 2015. A lot of DJs right now are coming to me now with this program saying, oh, dude, I want to be on your thing, because they're a DJ. And it's like, I go and I check out their, like, I do a background check. I'm trying to be fair with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's like,
They're not beat mixing. They're not doing nothing on social media. They're not putting the work in. You know, they're not. I mean, they got this mentality. Well, I'm a DJ, and you need to have me on because I'm a DJ. No, man. It's
I
like,
think I think that, not to interrupt you, but I think there's this old school idea for a lot of musicians that I'm just going to do music and I'm going to get discovered, right? That's not how it works.
no.
Like, very rarely does somebody walk into a cafe and be like, oh, that singer is amazing, let me sign them, right?
Right.
Like, you have to put in the work. And like, it's funny when people are like, oh, my social media isn't that. I'm like,
Hustle.
what
Gotta
the hell
hustle.
are you doing? I've gotten most of my gigs off of social media.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like,
but you're out there. You're putting yourself out there. You know, I mean, I see you, you know, doing all kinds of stuff, and I love your posts. I love your commentaries because you're so straight up, and you're very fresh. You're very like an open book, and I love that because there's not many people. I'm a reserved person. You know what I mean? I got a lot in my head, but I'll discuss certain things in private with certain people, but. You know, there's sometimes that, you know, like right now I'm doing this walking thing where I'm walking, you know, 4 miles a day, at least 3 to 4 times a week. And at the end of the 4 miles, I get on and I start yapping. And then on day before yesterday, I was just giddy. You know, for some reason, I started doing all kinds of dumb voices and just, you know, being just silly. And I was laughing at myself. And then I had a friend of mine come on like, bro, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, why? Nah, I just saw you kind of weird on that video you did. I said, what do you mean? Well, you just, you know, you were doing voices, you were laughing with your. I go, dude, I was just freaking happy, man. I was just feeling good, you know, being silly. People freak out when they see you that way, you know. So like, if they don't know you, they're gonna say, what the hell is up with this girl, man? What's up? But I love it because I know a little bit about you, but you just, bam, you're just like, in your face, and I love that. I adore it.
also, like, I'm trying not to be. I take that back because now I've moved to TikTok. Now I just rant about politics all day, like politics and like men. I'm just like, and it's funny because I don't want to be the angry female DJ, but you know what? Like, nothing's ever going to change in the industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
until there's a few of us girls that are just like, nah, you guys sit down. This is how things are, you know? But I mean, I get messages from girls that are like, thank you for talking about this. Thank you for talking about this, you know, because, you know, you're old school. We've been around, you know, like, unfortunately, the boys club has not been so nice to girls. So,
it is changing right now.
It is totally changing.
Big time.
I'm so happy about that.
Because I remember my first days of Power 106, man. Whoa, you know, I mean, I saw some stuff in there. Some of the DJs, I will not mention names and stuff, but I mean, you know, and it was like, oh, okay, all right, it is what it is, you know. But definitely things are changing. I think it's cool, you know what I mean, because it's like female DJs. I mean, I spoke with this young lady, DJ Rundad. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's from up north. She has this podcast which is called Royal Queens of DJs, and I love it because she's empowering female DJs. She talks to all kinds of female DJs, and it was funny because for many years, there were female DJs since the 70s, but they just didn't get the credit for it. They did not, and they're talented. You know, they were considered like, oh no, you should be a singer or something, but female DJs have had it for a long time. And for whatever reason, there's been that stigma that when you say DJ, you picture a guy, DJ, some cool dude. But things have changed. Things have changed drastically. I mean, you got, you know, DJ Irene, you got yourself, you got, you know, Miss Ninja, you got all these girls out there just doing their thing, killing it. There's this girl, DJ Carolina. I don't know if you know her. She's a Latin DJ from Honduras. Woo, man, that girl. She can mix, man. Let me tell you, she's got talent. You know, but it was funny because like I started doing my mixes and I had maybe like about 80 people watching me. And then I go to her page and she's got like 30,000 people on a freaking live. And I'm like, what the heck? I go, she's playing the same music I'm playing, but obviously, you know, much more attractive than me. I don't think people want to see a big bald fat dude, you know, but this beautiful woman's on there. But
it's not just her beauty, it's her talent. I mean, I was listening to those mixes and I was like, she knows her stuff, man. She knows her thing, and she's got a huge following. Check her out, DJ Carolina. She's pretty cool. But like I say,
did you know if she produces?
I don't. I've been trying to reach out to her and her manager because I'd like to get her on, and I've had no luck. Unfortunately, obviously, I don't have an email. She doesn't have a website. At least I haven't been able to find it. So I'm trying to see how I can get her on. But she's definitely talented. And speaking of production, obviously you're producing music. You have your own record label. Who are your inspirations that you would say you kind of brought you to where you're at today? Who are the DJs that were producers, remixers that you said, man, I want to sound like these guys or gals?
It's interesting. God, that's such a loaded question. This time around, I mean, I was a huge Daft Punk Basement Jaxx, you know. I'm doing an edit of Calling Your Name by Andrew Andrew. I don't know if you remember that song, Calling Your Name.
Oh, okay.
That song.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. I listened to a lot of like BT, and when I first, you know, like in the 90s, BT and Felix the House Cat and stuff like that was really big. But then when I really got into dance music since 2012, I mean, there's Cascade too. I was a huge old school Cascade Cascade fan. I'm trying to remix one of his old songs, You and Me, but it's like, I can't get it right yet. I need to revisit it. Right, so I set it aside. Definitely Cascade was a huge, you know, early Cascade. And then like lately in the last, like, Edge and Dance, who I've had the luxury of meeting. Nice. Definitely Todd Terry.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's just the coolest fucking human ever. Alexander Technique, who's one of my best friends, is really good friends with him and works with him a lot. And just like, you know, I got to sit with him in Amsterdam this last year and talk to him about a few things. And he just gave me some really great advice on some things, you know, about like not like management, how to wait to sign with management, like all this other stuff. And people like, I love Maya Jane Cole. I love Zoo. Zoo is one of my favorites right now. I love anything Defected. Sandy Rivera's Finally is hands down my favorite house track that was ever made. Everybody loves that track. Kings of Tomorrow, basically. I'm sure you know that song, right? And then you know, I she doesn't produce as much, but Sam Divine is like one of my favorite DJs. She's amazing. And then you know, people like Sonny Fodera.
You have a plethora of influences then, huh?
Yeah, because I draw from different stuff. You know what I mean?
Which
like,
is good. Very good.
Yeah. I absolutely love Low Steppa. I love David Guetta's stuff under Jack Back. Like, I love that sound. Like, I like a lot of that. Like, I'm really sort of that tech house, but more house than tech, you know? Like, obviously everybody likes, you know, Chris Lake and all those guys, but I remember, I like old school Chris Lake, you know, like there's so many changes in my life. Like, that was the hot jam at Winter Music Conference 05, you know? So yeah, so those are some of the producers that I really like love, which is weird because I don't actually, like I said, I don't actually listen to a lot of house music on my downtime. Like, I listen to more lo-fi and hip hop stuff. So it's like, it's interesting. So I feel like sometimes I mix more like pop dance, but the sounds that I choose are more like classic house sounds. You know what I mean? But I feel like I'm finally sort of like in the last few years, sort of getting my groove as to what my sound is and really understanding like who I am as a producer. Like, I have two sort of modes. Like, I have the chill stuff that goes on Third Virtue, which is the more deep house with vocals, soulful stuff. And then I have the more tech house stuff that I put on Vile, you know? So, which is a new label that I'm running from the Artificial People brand, who is, I don't know if you know anything about their parties, but it's Noir de Costas. He is, they do these huge pride events that are the biggest pride party outside of West Hollywood, at the W in Hollywood. Nice. And so they also do like the night swims and everything. And he does these huge activations. Like, I think his smallest show was like 600 people or something like that. And they have all the, we have all the, like big, like Desert Hearts do takeovers, Dirty Bird do takeovers, you know, all the different, you know, and he's one of my best friends and he's brilliant. You should have him on the show. He's freaking brilliant.
Put me in contact
with him. He's a really amazing DJ, amazing DJ, and such just like, you know, I feel like I've really been blessed in the last couple of years to find like a really good crew of people, you know, like my new thing is I do everything for the girls and the gays.
I have to say, you've definitely, like we were talking about hustling and paying your dues and everything, and you've been very smart at surrounding yourself with great individuals that I believe has been the thing that has helped you to grow so quickly. Because like I said, when I met you, you were, you know, just getting started. Mm-hmm. And to me, it seemed like months. All of a sudden you had your record label and everything, like we said. But I believe that's because that's what I started noticing. You were surrounding yourself by important and influential people in the industry that are also hustlers, that they're just out there doing their thing and making it happen. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I think that you definitely have that talent to be able to attract those people and get in good with them. And I think that that's helped you out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, but it really is. I noticed that, and I'm sure you can understand this, being an old school DJ. There are so many overinflated egos in the industry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the one thing that you can do to get ahead, and I tell, because I work with a lot of girls, that's my main thing. Like I wanted to create a place for women in the industry. And now I have this badass group of females like Stephanie Loiza, Rhiannon Rose, Club Indigo, who's her EP that's about to come out on my label in January is so fucking good. Like it's so good. And who else? Low End Bandit and like Juliet Mendoza, like all these amazing women, right? One of the biggest things that girls do differently than men, I think, is we come in humble. We come into an event and we're humble to the tech guy. We're humble to the promoter. We're humble to the bartenders. We're just nice because we're girls, right? We're nice. That number one in any business is going to get you further than walking in and being like, do you know who I am?
Yeah, that attitude can kill many things.
It really can. And I've seen it from people that I love and I respect. And I'm just like, wow, bro, like, did you really just say you don't know who I am?
Yeah. I got to tell you that comment irritates the hell out of me when somebody comes up and asks me, do you know who I am? I mean, it's like, that is like, to me, so arrogant. I don't give a damn who you are. You know, it's like, do you know who I am? You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, it irritates the heck out of me. I mean, and I agree with you. I think that people need to be more humble and gracious to be where they're at and be thankful to everybody that is enjoying what you're doing, you know. And
I think the pandemic has humbled the crap out of a lot of artists. Yeah. Because a lot of big artists that we all think are like, oh, they're going to be fine, are struggling right now.
Yes.
Everybody's gone through their savings. We're 6-7 months in. Unless you had $1 million in the bank, you're probably struggling right now. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where like, I feel like there's you mentioned like the silver lining. I feel like what's going to happen after all of this is we're going to have a renaissance, especially in LA.
Yes.
I think that the small shows are going to be a thing, and it's going to be small curated shows and not these big, blah, 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 you know, superstar DJs. We'll get them in, you know, but it's going to be more about the music.
Yes.
And less about the scene, because nobody can afford to pop bottles anymore. Nobody can afford to spend a bunch of money to go out.
Exactly.
And people are going to be picky and choosy, and they're just going to want to come out to hear good music.
Exactly.
And that's going to be so beautiful. I think it's going to be such a great thing for the industry.
It's evening the playing field all around.
It really is.
So let's talk about your DJ name, because I met you obviously as Charity. Bubblewrappe, where did that come from?
It is a story I can't tell.
Uh-oh.
And there was a lot of drugs involved.
It's one of those things, huh?
So to protect people's anonymity, I really can't talk about it. But we were all really, really high when I made that.
I have to say, it's very unique. Very unique. So we'll just leave it at that.
It just started out as like, I had the nickname. And then when MySpace started, that was like my URL. And then I just used it for everything online because it's like, no one's going to have that screen name, right?
Right.
Because of the way it's spelled. Like that was in the joke of the night when I got the name. We even spelt it weird. Because at the time, I was really into hip hop. And my friend who started the joke was like, rap like a rapper. He's like, but you're cool. So we're going to spell it WRAPPE. And I was like, okay, cool. So it was like a joke. Like literally this group of friends that I had back in Nebraska were like, that's my nickname. Everybody knew it. And so when I had to come up with a DJ name, I was like, well, am I really going to start another I have enough social media pages now, but at the time I was just like, am I really going to start it? And like AJ, you mentioned AJ, he was like, you should just use your real name. It's really pretty. And I'm like,
I like your name as well. I was like, I wonder why she switched it. I mean, she does have a nice name. And
I think especially because lately I one of the things I want to do is I eventually want to do like a lo-fi project because I love down-tempo hip-hop lo-fi beats. And I'll probably do that under my real name.
Cool.
I
think it'll fit better.
Yeah, it'll be more of a thing, but Bubblewrappe was just like, and the branding, it's like, I'm always thinking about branding and marketing. Like, how can we market this? How can we brand this, right?
Well, I love how you use the heart as the W. I love that.
That was I spent a lot of money on my logos, several $1,000s, because to me, when you see a Pepsi logo, a Pepsi logo, right? When you see, when you see the EDC logo, EDC.
You know exactly what
right? The owl. That's the thing, the owl. So, Edwin Zane, who did my logos, I had this other idea where I wanted to do, when I redid my logo this time, I wanted to do a B with the heart at the bottom. I wanted it to be like a B and then a heart at the bottom because, so Third Virtue is a play on my name. Faith, Hope, Love in the King James version of the Bible, it's Faith, Hope, Charity. And that's how my mom got my name. And so Third Virtue it's the third virtue, Faith, Hope, Love. And I want to do everything in life with love. Like I don't ever have any negative reasons for doing stuff. Like I feel like when your art is being done for a ulterior motive or for an egotistical reason, then because once again, don't you know who I am, right?
Right.
That's not why you make art. You make art because you absolutely love to make art, and you'll go crazy if you don't, right? And so for me, that was like the whole thing. And so I wanted the heart because when they do when you play a big show like that and they do the logos, you do sound staging. Yep. Having a logo behind you that's cool is so important. People are going to remember that. And that heart, I figure I want to put on merch eventually. So it's just like, I'm always thinking about, well, how can we brand? How can I brand this, and it's just, I just want to do everything with love. Like if we just add a little more love in the world, I think we'd be in such a better place.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the main thing that we're lacking right now is love, compassion, patience. Those are the three things that we're lacking so much. And I believe that's why we are where we are today, unfortunately. But, every little person like yourself, myself, other people can do their part. It's like I have this thing, and it was funny because I discovered it it was one of those days where I was just feeling giddy and silly, and I'm driving. I forget where I was going to market or something. And I see this guy walking down the street, and he's walking real serious. He's just like that. And then I was at the stop sign, and then he's crossing the street, and he looks at me, and I just stuck my hand out the window, and I waved at him. Just like a little smile.
And his whole expression changed. He's like, hey, and he just smiled back. And I was like, have a good day, you know? And then I said, huh. And so then I kept driving, and then I just kept waving at everybody. And people were just walking, and like, all of a sudden they smile and wave. And never not once did anybody look at me like, who the hell is this guy? But everybody would just wave back. And I said, damn, you know, if we would just do that, who cares who they are? If you don't know them, just wave at them, smile, and they might be having a bad day or whatever. Because that guy, I'm telling you, he had this look on his face like he looked pissed. Like, you know, he was walking really fast, like he just got out of an argument or something. I don't know. But I just waved and smiled, and the guy just smiled back and waved. But his look was like, hey, all right, cool, you know. And if we were just to do that, things could be different. You know what I mean? Things could be just a little bit different.
Be the change you want to see.
Exactly.
That's literally, like, when I started my label, that was the whole thing. Like, I had this situation where the guy that I released my first 2 tracks with went nuts. I actually had a situation with him this last year, and I asked him to take my music down because, like, 6 months ago, because he just did some really weird, creepy stuff. He's super creepy. And I was just looking like, well, what would it take to self-release? And then I realized that, like, starting a label, self-releasing is not that difficult, honestly. And especially in today's, you know, you don't need everything you needed before. You just need a good distro, right? Yep. And so I set up my, I decided to set up a label because I was like, at the time, it was like 2017, 2018. And it was, you know, after seeing all the craziness after 2016 and how women are now being attacked, I was like, I need to create that change, right? Instead of sitting on Facebook complaining about women getting dealt a bad hand and being, you know, creeped on in the industry, why don't I create that change I want to see, right? Why don't I create that place that girls can go to? And so that's really sort of like one of my biggest mantras is like, you have to talk the talk or walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk, right? Like, just don't talk about it, be about it. Like, it's that simple. So I definitely love that. I love when people just lead with good energy, you know? Yeah. And once again, the people like the fucking, you know, Bookers at Insomniac and the Todd Terrys and the Carl Coxes and the, you know, all these big names, you come to these people. You asked me earlier, like, if you're just nice, if you're just cool. And then, you know, I think a lot of people like looked at me and they were like, really? But then I was like, yeah, you know, I don't have a man. This is all I do. I'm serious about it. And then you're nice about it. And then they're like, oh, okay, she's about her business. You know, it's like, it's interesting how attitude just determines everything, you know, like people don't even realize that. It's like,
I will say this, your musical talent is something that I'm very impressed with.
Thank you, because I feel like I suck.
No, you're very good at what you do. You're very good at what you do. I remember hearing some of, like, a while back, some of the first stuff that you were putting out, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I remember looking you up on, I think it was on SoundCloud or somewhere, Spotify, something, and I looked you up, and I was like, okay, and it was cool, and I mean, it wasn't like, what the heck is this? It was like, all right, cool. And then the other day you release, I think you said it was your first remix.
Oh yeah, the Sam Smith edit. I don't do edits very often. Yeah, I never release edits for some reason.
Yeah, and I was like, I like this, man. I was like, this is cool. This is something I can spin on the radio show. I was like, this is not bad. I was like, wow.
Thanks. I'll send you the wave if you want.
Yes,
you
yes, please,
like,
please.
Yeah.
And you just, I mean, like I said, from night and day, you just took off. You definitely have the music penetrated within you, and. What do you think you attribute that to?
What like me?
Like your music inspirations and stuff, and what builds you to getting things done so quickly?
This is gonna sound really funny. Trauma. That's what it's like. Because as a kid, if I wasn't allowed to sit still, I wasn't allowed to just be. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and I basically was like a second mom. Like I had to like grow up, like I had to raise them, right? Which is why I've chosen not to have kids. And I was never given a chance. Like me and my AA sponsor talk about this all the time. She's like, Charity, you can take a day off. Like you can just chill, which I've been working really good at, like really hard at it during the pandemic. But for me, if I'm not working on my music, I feel guilty and I feel like I should be doing this, you know, because I understand there's this book, Mastery, by Robert Greene. He did the 48 Laws of Power and the Art of Seduction. And it's like, it takes 10,000 hours for somebody to become a master at something, which is basically around 10 years. Mm. So for me, I keep thinking that every time I work on something, that's the closer I get to mastering what I'm doing. So for me, it's just consistency. Consistency is more important than consistency is more than talent. It goes like this. It goes attitude, consistency, talent. That's the hierarchy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how many, because I know you're going to agree with this. How many really, really talented people do we know that could be amazing, like big time DJ producers, but they just don't, they don't do the work and they're assholes.
Yeah, I agree. There are, and it's like what I was saying earlier. I mean, all these people that are coming out and saying, hey, I want you to interview me. And it's like, okay, well, let me check you out and let me see what you've done. And there's nothing there. It's like, well, what's your story? What are you going to tell me? I'm a DJ and I know how to beat mix. It's like, what's your story, man? You have a story. You had a rough upbringing. You suffered from addiction. You got through it. You're sober. You hustled. You networked. You did everything that you had to do to get your dream going and make it happen. That's a huge story. I mean, you should be so proud of yourself because I mean, not a lot of people can do that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that sit on their ass and think that because they look cute or pretty and they know how to mix, that's all it takes. No, you have to go out there, I mean, I would have wished that I had been a little bit smarter in my younger years and finding management and somebody to lead me in the right direction. I did remixes when I was on air on the Spanish network and the Spanish realm. I did a lot of stuff for Paulina Rubio, Enrique Iglesias, a bunch of artists and stuff. And then I just kind of lost track. I never found the guidance that I needed, and I was too dumb to do it right, on my own. You know what I mean? I was kind of like just all over the place. So it took me a little while to get to where I needed to be. And then I ended up working behind the scenes, marketing, promotions, events, and stuff like that. So, but the experience that I had led me to build, my own business, work from home, be able to spend more time with my wife and kids, which was something that I was missing out on. I was missing out. I was literally working 7 days a week, missing birthdays, missing Easter, missing, holidays and stuff like that. And I was getting tired of it, and like I ended up hitting a wall and I had a severe depressive breakdown. And I needed to reinvent myself. And it's like you said earlier, I needed to retrain my brain. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to do that. And at the same time with this pandemic, my creative juices started flowing again. Like I told you, I started producing again. I started investing in my equipment and stuff. And now I'm working on a few little things here and hopefully we'll get some stuff going out. But people like you are inspiration to me. You know what I mean? Because you hustle. You know what I mean? I'm like, I gotta catch up. You know what I mean? It's like I gotta make this shit happen. So it's like, but I have to tell you, Charity, I really appreciate everything that you do, everything that you say on your social feeds, all the hard work that you put in. You're freaking awesome.
Thank you for saying that about my social media.
There's some people that might not understand it, but I think you and I kind of, get it. We get the gist. We know where it's at. But yeah, but it's a part of your hustle. You know what I mean? It's a part of keeping yourself relevant, keeping yourself out there. You got to do these things. You got to sometimes, as they say, shake the tree to, make people say, what the hell is going on over here? You know what I mean? And get you noticed. So yeah, what's up next for you? What are you working on as far as like remixes, productions? Now you mentioned you got 2 labels now because you have Third Virtue. Explain to me the other one.
The other one is Vile Music. It's not mine. It's not my label. I just do A&R for it. Okay. So I do all the back end stuff. Earlier this year, I was lucky enough to switch my label over to Create Music Group, which is one of the biggest distros in LA. Like a bunch of big names are on, like Gareth Emery's on there, Porter Robinson is on there, Future's on there, Migos is on there. Like it's a huge distribution company. Huge. And Noir had seen me sort of do, you know, I'm already doing this stuff. And Noir is also a graphic designer. He was a creative director for like a lot of big companies. And so he was like, I was commissioning him to do artwork for me as a little side project, right? So I would pay him to do some artwork on some albums because he's so good, right? Because once again, branding.
Yeah.
I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning of my label because there was a lot of stuff that I was still learning. And I'm still learning. It's always a learning process. Nobody does anything perfect. But I think he saw me doing what I'm doing on my end. And he was like, at the beginning of the pandemic, he was like, hey, do you run my label for me? Like, I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, we can't do shows right now. So I'm just doing it to do it, you know, and then next year, once shows are back up and running, it'll be like a full-time thing. But you know, it's cool because like the branding's a little bit different. And I'm completely redoing 3V right now, actually. That's why we're not doing another release until January. The website's getting redone right now, which will have the Shopify attached to it for Rave Mom.
That's another logo that I enjoy very much. I like the way you came up with that Third Virtue. That's very cool. I love the t-shirts and all the stuff that you come up and the merch. I love it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to get you a t-shirt.
For sure.
Yeah, it's, you know, I wanted stuff that I knew would look good on merch because I know that one of the only ways you can make money on music is licensing for merch. That's it. Yeah. Like nobody's making money off of music right now. Not even freaking Kanye. Kanye was just talking about it on Twitter and had a whole meltdown as per usual about it. So yeah, so it's one of those things where like, I'm rebuilding the 3V, but Vile has a very, you know, because Noir is a branding expert and I'm learning a lot from him. Vile has a very, you know, like a very cool sort of like theme to it. So I'm actually in the process of, I'm going to take everything off of our Instagram and only upload the artwork and a few things. I'm going to start doing, because I finally learned how to make like flyers and stuff and like Instagram posts with this app Canva. So cool. I'm just gonna work on that for a little bit. And like I said, we have this EP that just got finished earlier this year. I got the chance to work with, I got linked up with one of the mastering guys from Tool Room who has changed everything for me. I sent him a track and he gives me these very finite notes to fix and then masters it and everything sounds sick. Nice. You know, so it's really good. One of the things, and I think you'll get to this in production, is a lot of times, especially being a girl, I'll send somebody something and I'll be like, what do you think? And they'll just be like, it's cool, it sounds great. And it's like, no, I know I'm hearing something. I've only been producing for about 4 or 5 years. Like, what is it that I'm hearing in the low end? What do I need to do? How do I need to apply this? I went to Anonymous Studios last year. I took their mixing mastering program and I'm a member of Anonymous Studios, which is this really great hub. I don't know if you know about them. It's DJ Hem.
Looked into it.
Yeah, it's DJ Hem, if you know who that is. That's like his little spot. And it's one-on-one lessons. It's in studio.
Now, like was that the studio that I saw you? Because you were at this one big studio, these big old giant screens and stuff, and I was like, "Damn, check her out."
Yeah, that's Anonymous Studio. So what's really cool is I took their mastering and mixing and mastering program, and they take what you're already working on, and they teach you how to mix and master. And you have to log. That's the other thing that it taught me. You have to log 20 hours a week. Like you have to do 20 hours a week, and you have to write down what you did. And so you are one-on-one. I was. With one of the Horsemen, I was with Jeff the Jacker, and then I was with somebody before that, and then Jeff is like amazing. He's, you know, he does a bunch of stuff with Sasha Robati, and Doc Martin comes through there. One time I walked into the studio, DJ Rap was there. Fucking lost my mind. I was like, oh my God, you know, DJ Vice had his own room out of there. So I would see DJ Vice. I'd get to say hi to him and ask him for advice, you know. And then, Morgan was my first mentor there. And he's amazing. Like he's the wizard. That's what DJ Rob called him. And, you know, having these guys that I can just send a track to, and they're like, this is how you do it. This is how you apply it. This is what compression means. This is what EQing means.
Nice.
And so I really was able to, I switched over to Ableton being with them. And I was
You mentioned, we talked off there, you mentioned you had started with Logic, but you moved to Ableton. Now, when you went to the studio, were they using Ableton, or did you start off in Logic?
Well, what's cool about it is they let me start the mixing mastering class in Logic. So I was learning. And then towards the last month of the class, I switched to Ableton because they were teaching me in Ableton, but we would translate it into Logic. But the thing is Logic's great for tracking vocals. Don't get me wrong. It's great for tracking instruments. You can do it in Ableton too. Ableton's gotten a lot better about it, but Ableton is just so intuitive when it comes to like electronic music. The way you can manipulate audio is just insane. Like I learn something new every week because I'm always watching tutorials now. And before I would watch tutorials and I wouldn't understand any of it. Like I could not sit through a tutorial before I went to Anonymous because I learn viscerally with somebody teaching me one-on-one where I can ask a bunch of questions. And so now I can sit through tutorials all day. And it's cool because like, you know, switching over to Ableton immediately, I was making music, full tracks.
Nice.
And it's so intuitive and it's just so quick. You only have one tool. There isn't 80 tools. You have one tool. That's it. The draw tool.
Well, I'm gonna definitely have to pick your brain because, like I say, right now I'm in between that. The thing is more of a funding issue, obviously.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
You know, Logic.
But if you wait until Black Friday, they have mad sales.
Now
like,
we're talking.
I got lucky because Anonymous had like a discount through them, so I got it for cheap. I got it for like, I don't know, like 20-30% off or something like that.
What is the cost to join an Anonymous in case somebody might be interested in stuff?
It's $1,500 a month.
A month. Ouchie.
Yeah, but it's a 3-month program. Okay. 2 to 3 or 4 months, depending on the program. Like there's still a lot I don't know about Ableton. I want to go back and take the Ableton Mastery course I was going to this year, and then the pandemic happened. They have an actual Ableton Mastery course where they teach you everything for 4 months about Ableton. But they also have like financing, hands down the most amazing like experience of my life. Very cool. Being in that studio, the other thing that happened is people saw the pictures of me in there and they were like, oh, you want to do some stuff for us? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so it sort of put me on like a different level when people were like, oh, she's not just like a bedroom producer. Like she's actually in the studio, like, you know, 3 times a week. And then I can use the facilities whenever I want. If there's a room open and nobody's using it, I can go in and use it being a member. So it's cool. Cause like, you know, I think I can go back in now that it's opened back up again, but it literally, Anonymous changed a lot for me, you know, like. Well,
I got to tell you, from that last remix that I heard, it definitely helped you out because it sounds really good. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more tracks from you.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff I'm just trying to finish right now.
Awesome. Well, we've come to the end of our little convo here, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us and
having me.
Inspiring other DJs and female DJs that may be watching us. You know, I hope to have more female DJs on here and give their story so that
I've got a bunch of girls.
There we go. We got to chat. We got to chat about that because we got to make it happen. You are only my second female DJ on this show, so I thank you for taking the time and chatting with me, sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Likewise. And don't forget, those of you who are watching, all her links will be in the description. Of course, if you like this episode, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and slap that bell so that you get notified and get noticed when I have another amazing talent here on DJ the DJ. Sister, thank you so much. God bless. I'll see you soon.